my God. Jim Ryan is funny. Game Pass is anti-competitive. Game Pass, it cannot sustain itself. Oh my God, man. Phil Spencer. Sony and Nintendo is not our competitors. It's not what they can do for us. It's how we can help you. Man, look. The back and forth between Sony and Microsoft is straight comedy, man. Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, right? And then Sony went to the CMA. Then the CMA filed their suit. Then the FTC jumped in. So it was the EU, the CMA, and the FTC. And Microsoft had what? the shareholders, the employees, 75% of the public, and it was just 4 countries: Serbia, Chile, Saudi Arabia, Brazil. And as the case went on, more countries start to show up. So now you have, let's see, you have Mexico, you have Ukraine, you have South Korea, I think South Korea, China, Japan, you have South Africa, yeah. Argentina got a decision to make by the 17th, yeah. And then the European Commission supports Microsoft. But, you know, through this entire case, you know, Sony was the one that started this, you know, when they kept hitting Microsoft with time exclusives. And I guess Phil Spencer was like, okay, we're going to respond to this. And they did. And when they said Sony and Nintendo is not our competitors, it wasn't a diss, it was a wake-up call. That means the landscape is changing. That means Phil Spencer looked down that road and seen who were the competitors, and they got Game Pass up off the ground. And they were doing good. But then Sony decided to start poking Microsoft with all these time exclusives all over the place, blocking games to from coming to Game Pass. Phil Spencer is like, okay, we're going to respond to this. And if you watch that Sony presentation when they announced the PlayStation 5, look at that same week. Look at that this week on Xbox. It was really, really long. And that was Phil Spencer responding to Sony like, we got games over here. Once Microsoft bought ZeniMax Bethesda, you know, there were deals on the table out there. For instance, WB Games was selling, AT&T was selling WB, Rocksteady, and NetherRealms for like $5 billion. And I'm shocked to this day still that neither Sony or Microsoft went at that deal. But now WB, Rocksteady, NetherRealms now, they're owned by Discovery, you know, because AT&T restructured the deal, and Discovery came in and purchased them. It would have been interesting to see how if Sony would have had both Batman and Spider-Man. That would have been crazy. But Sony didn't jump at the deal. Microsoft didn't jump at the deal. But then, as time went on, Activision Blizzard was having problems. Then, I think Bobby Kotick probably went to Facebook to try to sell Activision Blizzard. Microsoft got word of that, caught wind of it, caught sight of it, or heard about it, and jumped on it before anybody else could react. That means Sony had the Call of Duty contract. Nintendo had the money. They didn't do anything. So Microsoft, Phil Spencer is like, look, we need to jump at this. Heads at Microsoft is like, okay, go. Phil Spencer is like this. Done. And let the panic begins now. So Sony tried to use the CMA and the FTC to fight their battles for him. But they got exposed. So, yeah. Now we're here, you know. Yeah. Listen to this. Jim, talking about Jim Ryan here. You know, Microsoft was sitting there giving out 10-year contracts. You know, Microsoft gave out 10-year contracts to who? Nvidia, Nintendo, EE, Ubisoft, Boosteroid, Enware. You know, even Sony could get a 10-year contract, but Jim Ryan's thing was like, his goal was to block the deal. You know, the CMA blocked the deal, but then they turn around and put a 10-year, another 10 years on top of the block. So basically, it's like they're giving Sony time to build their infrastructure for cloud gaming. And then the FTC got a decision to make, but they filed for an injunction. So yeah, Activision Blizzard saga, man. Listen to this. What's up, gamers? By the way, another beautiful day. Yep. Hope your five senses work. Health and strength is good. Look, listen to this. It says here, Sony Jim Ryan, I believe Microsoft will use Call of Duty to damage us. Basically, Jim Ryan is like looking for life support. So he's trying to say anything right now, just to save himself right now. You know, Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, you know, but the FTC and the CMA is like trying to help Sony out, you know. Anyway, listen to this. Then on top of that, the FTC, they try to take Nintendo out the picture. Then they want Nintendo to testify, but you can't remove Nintendo from the equation because Nintendo has a Call of Duty fan base. So, yeah. Anyway, listen to this. Sony Jim Ryan, I believe Microsoft will use Call of Duty to damage us. Nonsense. Says here in a sworn testimony in the FTC versus Microsoft court case, PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan says he believes Microsoft will use Call of Duty to damage Sony's gaming. That's not true. If you would have stayed consistent with your shooters, you wouldn't be saying this. But anyway, it says here, let me keep reading. It says here, Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan gives a timeline when he started to notice strong red flags in regards to the Microsoft Activision merger. Right, red flags. Sony Jim Ryan has strong conviction about the Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard and believe that Microsoft will withhold access to specific games in an effort to cause anti-competitive harm against PlayStation. This wasn't always the case, though. Emails showed that Ryan originally believed that the merger was not an Xbox exclusivity play. However, his view changed after a very particular email exchange from August 2022. It says during his testimony in the FTC versus Microsoft federal hearing, Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO said that he believed that Microsoft would use Call of Duty to damage PlayStation, either with full foreclosure, and then it says in parentheses, withhold Call of Duty completely from PlayStation, close parentheses, or partial foreclosure. And then another parentheses says time exclusivity on content and game release. Says here, below we have a line of questions between Jim Ryan and Microsoft counsel Beth Wilkinson from today's testimony. Ryan argues that if Call of Duty and other Activision games were withheld, that it could lead to lower spending across all dimensions of the PlayStation business. He says, how would you quantify the harm to SIE if this transaction goes through? He says, I think the harm to SIE arises from gamers deserting our platform. He's been saying that from the beginning. He says here, and going to Xbox. So it goes way behind the narrow contribution that those gamers spend on Call of Duty. It would affect spending on hardware, accessories, subscription service, and games. Another question. You would have fewer PlayStation games if this deal went through? Then he said, yes. That's not true. That is not true. That's Jim Ryan is lying here. Okay? Jim Ryan is lying. He says, how many fewer? It says it's obviously a hypothetical question. He's lying. He says we have PlayStation gamers who spend their time playing Call of Duty. That population would certainly be at risk. In the U.S., as a number of PlayStation gamers who play Call of Duty and only Call of Duty, that population would be at risk. Then it's another question. He says, what do you believe is going to happen after the transaction with Activision Blizzard? I think they will use Call of Duty to damage us, whether it be complete or partial foreclosure. Jim Ryan is making up stories. He says, if there's partial foreclosure, would that be harmful to your business? In our eyes, yes. It would degrade performance on our platform. That's not true. It says here, elsewhere, in his testimony, Ryan also said that Overwatch 2 was not among the games listed in the agreement that was offered in a multi-year publishing licensing agreement draft that Microsoft had offered to Sony. Ryan also said that he does not necessarily believe that Microsoft would go against a contract. Wilkinson brings up the multi-platform deal that PlayStation has signed with ZeniMax to offer Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo as time exclusive on the platform. Microsoft upheld these agreements and kept these contracts even after it had purchased ZeniMax in 2021. The question, you have no reason to believe that Microsoft would not honor contracts. They have shown that they will honor existing contracts. Correct. And then Ryan also added more context to the exclusive email that was received in Microsoft opening statement of evidentiary hearing. In that particular email, Ryan was quoted as saying that he does not believe that Microsoft Activision merger was a way to secure exclusive content and withhold games like Call of Duty from PlayStation. And then it says here, this was largely because of the call that he had with Xbox gaming CEO Phil Spencer in January. Microsoft had also offered a draft agreement to Sony at the time, in which Sony had rejected and chosen not to provide counter offer to. At the time, Spencer told Ryan that he intended to keep Activision games on PlayStation. Things apparently changed in August, but it was not revealed exactly what Spencer had or other Microsoft representative communicated with Sony. This was when Sony anti-merger sentiment were heating up, and multiple regulators had filed their Phase 2 investigation into the $68.7 billion merger. Question: On January 20th, 2022, did you believe Microsoft would abide by contractual agreements and ensure Activision games are multi-platform? Yes, I believe it at that stage. Question: What are you relying on to believe that they did abide by that agreement? At that stage in the conversation with Spencer, he told me that it was his intention to ensure games on PlayStation. Question: He also confirmed to you in an email that that was his intent, correct? His intent, correct. Question. And the draft agreement that he included did not cause you to change your belief at the time, correct? At that time, he included an agreement that had some Activision games, not all. You said Overwatch 2 was not on the list, correct? So when you read that, you were not concerned they would make Call of Duty exclusive. At the time, no. Well, that's the end of the article. Good article, Tweet Town. Alright, look. Jim Ryan is just making up anything right now. You know, I'm just saying anything to save himself because he got exposed. You know, while he was using the CMA and the FTC to stop the Microsoft Activision merger, and you know, because he even said that he never cared about Call of Duty, but now all of a sudden he does. You know, Microsoft tried to work with everybody. You know, give them a 10-year. First give them a 3-year deal, then a 10-year deal, and then all of a sudden, now you're talking about Call of Duty. You're believing that Microsoft will use Call of Duty to cause harm to PlayStation, right? Then you also said he also said that that he didn't want if Activision released a Call of Duty on under Microsoft, it would be a buggy mess. But then to find out now that he didn't want Activision to give Microsoft secrets about the PlayStation 6. So right now, Jim Ryan is just like flip-flopping like a fish out of water all over the place, you know. Microsoft tried to work with Sony, and Sony didn't want to comply. He said it with his own words. His goal was to block the deal, and that's what, and he meant it. But now he's all over the place, like a fish out of water. Nintendo accepted the deal, right? And the FTC tried to use Nintendo as a scapegoat, but now they want Nintendo to testify. So, right now he's just making up stuff. He's just trying to come up with any kind of he's just trying to say anything, just to stop the deal from happening, you know. But Microsoft right now, Microsoft is in the right now, okay? Because they try to work with everybody, you know. Make sure when Call of Duty, make sure whatever cloud gaming cloud service that you're on, that you'll be able to play it, whether it's Anywhere, whether it's EE, whether it's Ubitus, whether it's Boosteroid, whether it's NVIDIA GeForce Now, and whether it's Nintendo. Microsoft was looking out for everybody. So right now, Jim Ryan is flip-flopping like a fish out of water. That's what I'm getting from all this. And he has nothing to stand on, because he exposed himself when he said his goal was to block the deal. Then he comes back in and he says, oh, if Activision releases a Call of Duty under Microsoft, it will be a buggy mess. But then to come and find out now that he don't want Activision to give up inside information about the PlayStation 6. He's just flip-flopping out of water right now. And the other thing too is this too. The other thing too is this. He's mad too because he doesn't have the title Game Pass. It used to be like, okay, when you think of video games, the first thing will come to your mind is Sega. When you think of video games, the first thing that will come to your mind, it's Nintendo. When you think of video games, the first thing that will come to your mind is PlayStation. For years, it's been PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, right? PlayStation, right? Even when Microsoft was in the console business, everybody always talking about PlayStation. But the moment Microsoft came up with Game Pass, that name trumps every other name in video games, including PlayStation, Nintendo, any console maker. Game Pass, that name carries a lot of weight. So Jim Ryan is really mad that he doesn't have Game Pass. He doesn't have the name Game Pass. So yeah, but you know, Microsoft tried to work with everybody. You know, Microsoft gave Nintendo, Anywhere, EE, Ubitus, Boosteroid, gave NVIDIA GeForce Now 10 years. You know, that's called communication. That's called communication. And then on top of that too, Google and Sony was the main ones behind the blocks. You know, they were the main ones behind the blocking. But they tried to use the CMA and the FTC to do their work for them. And even Google could have gotten a 10-year contract from Microsoft. Even Amazon. Microsoft trying to work with everybody. Yeah, so Jim Ryan is just flip-flopping all over the place like a fish out of water. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video for y'all to enjoy. Nice talking to you people again. Still Star Wars and Star Trek thing.
Or dark section.
Go. Peace.